Ukrainian military vehicles have become a distinct topic in scale modeling over the past few years. New versions, combat modifications, and real-world prototypes are now available in 1 to 35 scale. Today, I'll show you 10 of the best Ukrainian Army kits in 1 to 35. Ready-to-build options and kits that work well for conversions. Let's get started. In 10th place is a kit from the Ukrainian company Masterbox, a combat buggy. It's a rare and unusual subject in 1/35 scale. Most kits in this scale focus on heavy vehicles, so machines like this are not very common. That's why it opens the list. In terms of quality, it's typical for Masterbox. Not premium, but perfectly decent. The molding is clean, the build is straightforward, and there are no major issues. It's suitable for beginners. But there is one important thing to keep in mind. This model doesn't really work on its own. If you just place it on a shelf, it looks a bit empty. It really needs a base or a small diorama. Out of all the versions, the medical variant with figures is the most interesting. It adds a clear story. Overall, it's a good kit for a relaxed, uncomplicated build. Simple, neat, and not too typical. In 9th place is the M1 Abrams from Tamiya, finished in Ukrainian Army markings. As a kit, there are very few questions here. This is a well-known and proven Tamiya release. The molding quality is excellent, the fit is predictable, and the build is straightforward. The price is reasonable, and since there is no photo etch or overly complex detailing, it's perfectly suitable even for beginners. From a modeling perspective, it's a safe and reliable choice. However, I placed it in 9th position for a different reason. In the context of the war in Ukraine, the Abrams has not yet become a defining or iconic vehicle. It is present, but it hasn't played the kind of visible or decisive role many people initially expected. So in terms of real-world context, there is simply less to say about it so far. That said, as a model, it remains an interesting subject. A modern Western tank in Ukrainian markings makes for a strong and recognizable display piece. Overall, it's a solid, dependable kit that fits well into a contemporary Ukrainian military theme, even if the real vehicle has not yet become one of the war's defining symbols. In 8th place is the Kraz truck, represented by two manufacturers, Hobby Boss and Takom. Kraz is probably not the most common truck in Ukrainian service. HIMARS and Ural vehicles are used much more widely. However, Kraz is a Ukrainian-made vehicle, and for this list, it fits the theme much better. It's local equipment, with its own history and character. As for the kits themselves, both are typical examples of modern Chinese manufacturers. They are moderately complex, not overloaded with photo-etched parts or excessive detailing. The molding quality is good, the fit is solid, and the overall build experience is predictable and stable. Beginners can try these kits as well, as long as they feel confident. It's not a first-ever model, but it's far from being a hardcore build. Another strong point is the type of vehicle itself. The Kraz is not about direct combat. It's about logistics. Transporting ammunition, fuel, supplies, and equipment is what keeps an army functioning. Because of that, these models are a great choice for builders who want something different from another tank or infantry fighting vehicle. Overall, these are solid, well-designed kits with an interesting prototype and a strong connection to the theme of Ukrainian military vehicles. In 7th place is the Spartan armored personnel carrier from Gecko Models. This is a tracked armored vehicle originally used by the British Army, later supplied to Ukraine and actively employed in combat operations. It is compact, mobile, and well-suited for support and transport roles. As for the kit itself, the Gecko Models release is not an easy build. It is well detailed, but also quite demanding. A lot of fine, photo-etched parts and small components make the assembly challenging even for experienced modelers, not to mention beginners. This kit requires patience, precision, and careful work with small parts. Another important aspect is its size. The compact dimensions are both a plus and a minus. On the positive side, it doesn't take up much space and works well in dioramas. On the downside, everything is tightly packed, small, and more difficult to assemble. In the end, the Spartan from Gecko Models is not a beginner's kit. It's designed for experienced builders who enjoy complex projects. For advanced modelers, it's a very solid and rewarding choice. In sixth place is the BMP2 from Trumpeter. There is one important detail to clarify first. Even though the box describes it as a Russian version, the manufacturer is actually referring to the original Soviet design. This vehicle has been used by both sides and is also actively operated by Ukraine. Despite the fact that the BMP2 can no longer be considered modern, it remains widely used in the Ukrainian armed forces. These vehicles are still very common and continue to play an important role on the battlefield. As for the kit itself, the Trumpeter release is fairly predictable. There are no major surprises here. The level of detail is solid, the assembly logic is clear, and the kit is not overloaded with unnecessary complexity. That said, it's probably not ideal for complete beginners. Some experience with armored vehicles is helpful. Still, if someone is motivated enough, it's possible to take it on with patience and care. The main strength of this kit is the real vehicle behind it. The BMP2 is not a Lend-Lease vehicle and not a foreign delivery. It is a mass-produced, authentic fighting vehicle that has been part of Ukraine's forces for decades. That's why it earns the sixth spot on this list. In fifth place is the Ukrainian armored vehicle Kozak 2 from ICM. With this release, ICM clearly moved to a higher level. In terms of detail, molding quality, and overall engineering, this kit can now confidently compete with Chinese brands like Trumpeter and Hobby Boss. At the same time, it is not overloaded with unnecessary complexity, as is often the case with mini-art kits. The build remains logical and enjoyable, without constant frustration. Another strong point is the price. The kit is reasonably affordable, and you can genuinely enjoy the building process. As for the real vehicle, the Kozak 2 is an armored car based on an Iveco chassis, developed in 2015. According to various sources, around 250 units are in service with the Ukrainian armed forces. It is a modern, practical vehicle designed with real combat experience in mind. Overall, this is a very pleasant kit of a not-so-famous but important vehicle. Good quality, reasonable difficulty, and an interesting prototype make the Kozak 2 a well-deserved entry in this top 5. That's why it takes the 5th spot. In 4th place is the HIMARS from Trumpeter. This multiple-launch rocket system has become one of the most recognizable and widely discussed weapons of the modern war. It continues to be actively used by the Ukrainian army and remains an important part of long-range fire support. As for the Trumpeter kit, it is relatively straightforward to build, especially for a vehicle of this size and complexity. It is not overloaded with unnecessary parts or excessive detailing. The design is clear, and the assembly process is logical. At the same time, the kit is not cheap. The price is above average, but in this case, it is justified. One of the highlights is the option to build the launcher either in the travel position or in the firing position. This adds flexibility and makes it easier to create a dynamic display. Overall, this is an excellent, large, and impressive model. Its size, recognizable silhouette, and modern subject make it a strong centerpiece for a collection or diorama. For its price, you get a truly striking and relevant kit. The bronze medal goes to the M2A3 Bradley from Meng. This American infantry fighting vehicle is actively used by the Ukrainian army and has already proven itself in real combat conditions. One of the most well-known episodes was its engagement with a T-90, where the Bradley came out on top and received a lot of attention in the media. As for the model itself, the Meng kit is neither simple nor cheap. It is a fairly demanding build with a high level of detail and complex assemblies. However, all the effort pays off. The finished model looks very convincing and realistic. The surface detail, proportions, and overall engineering are at a very high level. One drawback is that the kit does not include Ukrainian camouflage schemes or decals. If you want to build a Ukrainian version, you will need aftermarket parts and good reference photos. For experienced modelers, this is not a serious issue. In the end, this is an excellent combination of a strong, real-life prototype and a high-quality kit. A well-deserved 3rd place. The silver medal goes to the Leopard from Border model. Even though there are kits from other manufacturers, I chose Border for a simple reason. Their Leopard stands out for its high level of detail and attention to small features. This kit is not an easy build. It requires experience, patience, and careful work, and the price is above average. But all that effort is fully justified. The final result looks extremely realistic and impressive. The molding quality, surface detail, and overall engineering are at a very high level. As for the real vehicle, the Leopard is probably the most well-known and one of the most widely used Western tanks in Ukrainian service today. It is highly recognizable, appears frequently in photos and videos, and has already become part of modern military history. That's why this kit fits perfectly into the theme of Ukrainian military vehicles. A strong model, a strong prototype, and a well-deserved second place. First place goes to the T-64 from Trumpeter. This is the main battle tank of the Ukrainian army. Despite the arrival of Western equipment, the T-64 still carries most of the fighting load and remains the most widespread tank in Ukrainian service. The tank was developed in Kharkiv, at the Malyshev factory, and was also produced there. In many ways, it is a vehicle that is historically and industrially tied directly to Ukraine. As for the model, the Trumpeter kit follows the company's usual approach. It is moderately complex, but not overly complicated. The build requires attention, but it doesn't turn into a struggle. Overall, it offers a predictable and reliable level of quality. One downside is that Trumpeter does not offer a special version focused on the modern Ukrainian conflict, and presents the kit as a Soviet variant. Technically, this is not incorrect, but for an accurate Ukrainian version, you will need to source your own decals and camouflage references. However, this is a minor issue, because the T-64 is probably the most Ukrainian tank possible, and in Trumpeter's interpretation, it fully deserves the gold medal of this ranking. That was my top 10 list of Ukrainian military vehicle kits in 1/35th scale. Thank you for watching until the end. Let me know in the comments which kits you would add to this list, and which choices you agree or disagree with. And of course, we all hope for this war to end as soon as possible, and for peace to return. See you next time.